Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Just a little sound check, make sure things are working. Blair, are you there?
Yep.
Okay. I see a colleague on there, Melvin. Maybe in the chat box, you can send me a thumbs up if we're good.
I think you're just fine.
All right, great. Okay, thank you all. I'll let Blair, we're teaming up on this today. Blair Davies, who's our rep in Ontario and other parts of Canada, usually handles these, and he does a fantastic job at it. He's a good comedian as well. You may not get that out of me today, so I'm more of the technical guy. I work out of our U.S. Saratoga Springs office, and fortunate enough to work with Blair, and I appreciate all your time today, everybody. And we'll be talking about Argeton Terra Cotta, which we've represented in North America for nearly 20 years now. And Blair's worked with us for a few of those years. So again, I appreciate your time. He will reach out after for credits and related items. But and I prefer this to be, again, being on the management side and the non-sales side of this. I'm more operations. I prefer this to be very interactive. And so if you do have any questions, please feel free to throw out a questions in the chat box. Blair is on, he's remote, so we'll make sure to get those.
Yeah, I'll pay attention to the question bar because that way I can track the questions later and I can also answer them back to everybody. So although we will stop every once in a while, but you can ask your questions and I'll be able to answer them as Kris continues presenting.
Yep. So thanks again. All right. Hopefully everything, you see the screen, and we'll get this started again. Telling Architectural Systems. We're based out of Saratoga Springs, New York. We've been doing this for many years, and again have rights to a couple German products.
You just have to change. You up under sharing, Kris. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem.
At the top there, hit the show screen.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. You go to presentation mode. Okay, good to go?
Yeah, actually, we're seeing the screen of the speaker notes. So just change the screen.
Oh, I see. Sorry, guys. Again.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, high control panel. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. And then you can put that in slideshow mode. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you get a small bar. Okay, let's move this forward. Learning objectives today. Again, this is going to be a general overview of terracotta manufacturing. And again, we represent Argeton. Argeton's a German company that actually created the terracotta rain screen back in the 80s, and we'll go through that. We'll review a lot of design and finish options. So color. Color is something that Argeton focuses on. And we can't do a terracotta staircase, but we can do a lot with a terracotta cladding system. We'll also go through construction details, how the material's ordered, touch base on sustainability, which is incredibly important these days, and then in general, what makes a successful project. We're not the only ones out there doing terracotta, but we'll go through how Argeton sees the market and what they can supply for you. Again, quick overview of Argeton Terra Cotta. Argeton is created this system in the 80s in Germany, so it's been around on the wall many years. You go to Dresden, which is where Argeton uh, it manufactures, actually Gorlitz, which is on the border of Poland, and you'll see a lot of terracotta. A lot of it's been around since the 80s there, and incredibly, it still looks good as new. That's one of the huge benefits of this product, we feel. But it's been around. It's been around for a long time. Currently, Argeton's owned by Wienerberger. So Wienerberger is the largest supplier of clay product in the world. So they're a big construction materials company based out of Austria, and they fall under the Argeton or the Wienerberger umbrella. So it's a what we feel is a very high quality organization. We've never had a problem with them. We've never had a failure. So the rain screen system, again, in other forms, this has been around for many years. So Argeton creates just the tile system, the and some of the components, the clips, that all comes from Argeton. So it's to secure a warranty, those parts and pieces would come from Argeton in Germany. All the other support components that you see here and on your projects could come from others. We have our own system, which is modeled here, but there's many out there, and we're happy to install over other systems. Obviously, ours are tested, so we do, ASTM, US testing, and European testing on our systems. So you may need an engineering judgment if you do modify the structural supports, but not a problem. Um, so general design, this is an equalized pressure rain screen system. I know this rendering's off a little bit with the insulation, but rock wool or mineral wool cavity insulation is required. And again, 100% of these support pieces are aluminum. So you have two products here, aluminum and terracotta. Quick history on terracotta, and most of you possibly know a lot more about this than I do, but it's been around for a long time in many formats. So I think we can all agree it's a very durable product and easily hung and easily repaired. Well, maybe not easily, but it can be repaired. And here you have a couple formats. You have the old and the new. And you see this throughout Germany. Very interesting to go to some of these locations where they have it. Now we bring in the modern take on terracotta in extruded format, right? This is high pressure extrusion that Argeton has created, and many others have followed. Many of the other suppliers are actually out of Germany, and as I understand it, a lot of that reason is Germans are good at manufacturing and they have the raw materials, so the clay itself is readily available there. So this is Argeton's factory. Again, this really speaks to sustainability and a lot more important functions regarding carbon use. Here you note that the quarry is actually at the site. So you see it here on the left. It's so literally it comes out of the ground and the tile comes out the other end of the building. So it's a very efficient manufacturing process. And in fact, the plant manager lives here as well. So it just lends itself to the high quality and the focused production that you do see out of the factory. This factory, and this is inside one of the barns that you just saw in the aerial shot, fully automated. Tiles are produced, again, high pressure extrusion. And, dimensionally speaking, because of the automation of this factory, there's limitations, right? A lot of factories that do have larger and longer pieces, it's because there's some hand transportation done or other ways of doing that. And that's fine. Argeton can do that. It's cumbersome and it's expensive. And that's not our focus. The Argeton focus is trying to maintain a terracotta that is economical and high quality, repeatable. As I've said, we've had zero problems with this. So here you can see this automated or robotic forklift is pulling some um, tiles out of a drying machine. From here, they would go into a kiln. Again, the process, the total actual production process only takes a few days from the time it comes out, or from the time it goes from a barn, which is drying clay, to the time it goes out the door is only a few days. The current cycle from an order to completion, the lead time is currently 16 to 20 weeks. So we've had a lot of orders the last couple of years that were delayed. Of course, everybody wants their tile now. So generally it's a 12-week production cycle, or a guarantee, you could say, but currently we're trending towards 16 to 20. Unfortunately, I think you'll find that with a lot of manufacturers right now and a lot of the industry. So here you see one of these dies. This is a wavy profile shape. Very simple to make. We have many. We probably have 100 different dies, and just for reference, these are priced anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. So if you do have a project you would like to get creative with your shapes, um, that's about what you would have to budget for that. As it works its way from the barns in through the extrusion process, out of the dryers, you end up in the kilns, and these kilns here, the tunnel kilns, actually create, in a large part, create the color of the tile, right? It's a time and temperature dependent. So always very interesting to see that. After you leave the kiln, you end up head over to another robot, another part of the process here where they create the tile. So again, this is a fully automated movement from one end to the other. Again, what we haven't touched base on here is any components. So this is strictly the terracotta element. The other parts and the pieces in parallel to this, or probably ahead of production, we would have a set of shop drawings done and obviously sent into the design team for review and approval. The end product. So here's another rendering. This is a rendering of what we call our MTE system. This is a bracketed system over a stud, typical 16 gauge stud wall. And we like to say it's a sustainable, durable, and a 100% non-combustible system. And I know those are all key words, and they are important words and these days. But as you'll see here, again, the terracotta and all aluminum. The clips, we use a riveted connection. We use aluminum spring channels. So in between the tile joints, those are all spring channels that put tension on the back of the tile so that all the tile are aligned properly. And behind the clips, we use a thermal packer. That's again for isolation. So we know thermal performance of the wall system is critical. But in our opinion, and all the different systems we have, we find that there's always a unique requirement, and it depends on where you are in the country as to what that is. So we have many systems, and as I mentioned earlier, we can accommodate others as well, fiberglass brackets or rail systems. So again, sustainability is huge, and nothing's changed for us. These systems again have always been sustainable, but it's such a key word these days that I think, and anybody chime in, that we feel terracotta is one of the most sustainable. I mean, it's more or less 100% natural clay. There's no hazardous components. Has a service life of, this is from the Germans, 150-year service life. It's completely reusable or can be recycled. So uh, yeah, it's a pretty impressive product from that perspective. The environmental, or EPD, is available. Happy to share that with you. I know working with several countries, everybody has their own version of that. We in the US, we tend to have lead documentation, but the EPD is pretty important in Europe, as I understand it. Okay, into design. So now you've seen a quick overview of how the terracotta, where it comes from, how it's made. Um, Now we want to look at, well, what else can we do with it? Um, the in the 80s, when Argeton created this, it was just that standard red tile. Now with glazes and colored clays, and several profiles are available, patterns. Now there's actually printing as well. Argeton's brought that in, so you can actually print with glazes. Um, so several options, and again, that's where Argeton has focused their technology, is with the surface finish. Again, many profiles. Limitations, 500, so about 20 inches by 5 foot, or 500 by 1500 is the limitation. Again, that's primarily due to the kilns, which we saw earlier, and the um, the process, the conveying system within the factory. But if your project can stay within those limitations, um, we can provide a lot of different profiles. Standard profiles, okay. We would consider these standard. Anything from, say, 8-inch to about 16 is sort of falls in a sweet spot. Standard profiles, you can easily do surface finishes, grooves, waves. Again, we probably hold 100 different options for you to select from. Of course, there's customs options. These sorts of profiles are quite trendy, especially oriented in the vertical application these days. Again, we're somewhat dimensionally limited, um, but also, as you can see, you can still achieve a lot with colors and some surface relief. I mentioned printing is, yeah, Argeton is able to, through glazes and an engobe process, we call it, create different patterns. They can actually, in fact, print nearly any color, any pattern on their tile. So really, truly, sky's the limit with that. So keep that in mind. Uh, Probably 80% of what the factory um, produces is cladding, or that flat tile. That's the vast majority of it, but certainly there's quite a few terracotta baguettes as well. And here you'll see some fairly standard options. 2-inch by 2-inch is a typical go-to, but we have seen some large projects typically used as sunshade devices. Vertical or horizontal configurations, not a problem. Um, and we assist with the support systems for these. Obviously, that's always the trick, is how are these supported? Again, at max lengths up to 1.7 meters in these smaller tubes. So they can accommodate slightly larger pieces with the small square profiles. Decorative screening, again, many configurations. Parking garages, office building, window wall screens. walkways. We have several. This is a project in Texas. A lot of sun, a lot of screening. Integrating other products into the terracotta tends to work very well. We've had some success with our brick system, with the terracotta and the screening as well. Makes for a nice combination, as often the support systems are the same for a lot of these. So is there a standard detail? I know everybody wants to know what the details. There really is not, to be honest. Again, although we have standards, generally there's some sort of customization for many projects. That's probably what we specialize in. But these details we're happy to share any of the standards we do have with the design community, and you can integrate that. And then often we just work together through the shop drawing process to fine tune some of those details. I know I've mentioned finishes with Argeton, and also fairly new is a new what they call their Barrow Supreme line. So this is a glazing, a lot of different colors, and this is done in fact by a group out of the Netherlands that they bring in that help assist with the glazing process. So this is a very special finish. You can actually put this on the barrows, or you can put this on the tile, but it creates a very interesting glazed, again, this is fully glazed finish on a white base tile. Okay, so let's see. Now that you've seen a few of how the terracotta is made, the factory, let's see some of the actual projects. Again, we've mentioned finish, so textures, standard profiles. Using economical standard modules and profiles, you can create a pretty impressive facade. And we've done that. Some of these pictures will show that, we would like to think. This here, you have 2 colors on this job, but in 3 different finishes. This is a project where we used a highly iridescent glaze, and these images on the right are of the tile just at different angles of sunlight. And this building, this is a children's hospital in Portland, Oregon, that literally changes throughout the day based on the angle of the sun. And absolutely a little higher cost than standard, but pretty impressive finish. Ventilation, so this is a unique picture only because you did some water jet cutting for HVAC. You can see that on some of these terracotta modules. That's easily doable. Surface finishing, here you have a roll applied. Hopefully you can see this. There's a stone texture in this terracotta, and then an actual sort of a blue glaze coating over it to create a natural blue stone. This is upstate New York, and so the school wanted to create more authentic natural bluestone, but with the modern terracotta system. So this is what we came up with. It's a pretty stunning facade and holding up quite well. Again, this is a unique project, same color, different textures. So that's the job. Here it is up close and personal. Under construction, there was actually 4 different textures on this project. They added one, but as you can see, slight variations in textures can create quite a change to the color or the look of the building. 2 different colors here, slightly different. So one's a standard color and one was a slightly darkened color, custom. Again, creates a unique pattern and again, a very economical way to design. Brick, terracotta together, I think we saw this earlier, makes for a great combo. This is probably
just a second.
Yeah,
just
go
a
ahead.
second.
Yeah.
So it's about halfway through. So if you all could push your questions out, I'll be happy to answer them. There's been a couple good ones, and I've put them answers out to everybody, and I'll go through them later. But I'm eager to answer the questions while Kris
Right.
presents. Thank
Yeah, I'll keep going on here. If I don't see the questions for some reason, but I'll just let you handle that. All right. So this is our most economic. I know everybody's. What's your most economical tile? This is it right here. This is a Tuscan red or a natural red, natural terracotta, as it was created back in the 80s. This is it. Standard modules, about 12 inch by about 48 inch. So this is, if you need a VE option, here you go. Now this is a curtain wall project. They added some aluminum fins and things, but again, it can be a very economical tile, and that's probably one of the number one questions I get. And anyways, here's the picture of it. Here is a more expensive option. Here you have 17 different glazes, 17 in fact custom glazes. So this is a few trips to Germany with the architectural team, but I think at the end of the day, it sure paid off. It's a pretty impressive project. Again, the soffits, everything on this building, these terracotta regions. A couple different sizes as well. You see the green. I believe that was a 8-inch, and the blue, the red, and the yellow were all 12-inch modules. For Team Canada here, it's a project in Calgary. Simple use of terracotta, but turned out absolutely beautiful. This is a emergency station, or what we would call a firehouse, and we don't do these typically. Not that I know too many of these in the U.S. So this is a great looking station in Canada. Liberty University project in Virginia. This used the sunscreen system over the windows, and then it aligned with a custom tile that had the same profile, and created a really nice facade. This is also on a radius. This is what I would say is a faceted radius, so the tiles are flat, but the support components are broken, right? So there's a few more cut pieces behind the scenes. Just a little more labor to install this, but easily achieved, and we do it often. Again, playing with colors and textures really creates a unique look. This is a fairly recent project in Virginia. I think it was two colors possibly, with 3 different textures, and some baguettes. I've got to share what these guys are doing in Europe a little bit. I could have several slides, but and the colors and some of the design, really impressive in the large projects. I mean, big jobs over there with terracotta, and this is one of them. And these are all large, custom size, custom colors for several buildings clad in this with different combinations of colors. And this is a project in France where they did, again, they spent the time developing another iridescent finish, and in several profiles. So I think there's 6 different profiles to create these features, these horizontal wavy features. But impressive project for sure. Now we come to one we're quite proud of, which is this is a residential house. We're seeing more and more use on residential, and it sure makes sense. And again, if you stick to standard modules, it can be an economical choice. This is a glazed Carrara white tile on a house in Portland, Oregon, and happened to receive a 2021 Architecture Master Prize nomination. It didn't win, but it was a nomination. anyways, stunning project, and architects were fantastic. Contractors were great to work with, and it's an impressive job. So with all of that, uh, you've seen some projects, seen how terracotta is made. Do a quick overview of what makes us different in summary is that one, we're gasket free, so there's no neoprene. A lot of the other systems use gaskets and other features, and that's because terracotta is not perfect, right? It's not extruded perfect. The Germans do a very good job of getting it quite close. It's a high precision extruded system, but we use these aluminum pieces that again put pressure on the backside of the tile, so you have a clean, true facade. Others use neoprene, and neoprene just reduces the lifespan of these systems. So um, again, we feel this is one of, if not the most sustainable terracotta system. Fully equalized pressure, right? Open joint. All these joints are open. Um, truly unlimited colors, patterns, textures. Modules 20-inch to 60-inch, fully tested. US and European. And I should note, if there's requirements in Canada we're happy to do that on a per project basis, but generally in the past, we've just worked with engineering judgments and been able to use our US and European testing, but we're happy to acquire any other testing that might be required. 100% non-combustible. Energy codes seem to vary everywhere these days, but well, that's why we have several support systems to meet those. There is zero maintenance for life of the system. Easily prefabbed. Okay, you could transport these. We've done it in panels, large prefab, or field set, or a combination thereof. And lifetime durability. Again, they tell us it's a 150-year cycle. And at the end of that, it's either reusable or recyclable. Okay, number two question. Number one is what's the most economical size and color? Number two is what's the cost? So in US dollars, it's trending 15 to 25. Again, that's completely dependent on, again, your color, your texture. So that's US dollars. That's installed. That's with a complete engineered assembly as well. So again, stick to the standard reds and you'll be on the lower end of that. Customization might put you on the higher end of that. Let's see. Okay, what is next? So maybe we start diving in, Blair, into some of these questions. And there's some technical details at the end of this, because I'm guessing maybe some questions are about support components. So I've included
Yes.
some of that.
Yeah.
But,
Let's go through the ones I've answered.
okay.
So is there a minimum offset for terracotta on a glazing system? And my answer was it is more of a question for the curtain wall designer that they provide an outrigger and the baguette system is attached to it. So a baguette is basically a tube of terracotta shaped in many different shapes, squares, circles, pins, whatever. And there's a channel through the middle of it, and a aluminum rod goes through that channel, and the ends can be attached to all sorts of things. And when you see them in front of curtain wall, they're being attached to elements that have been designed by the curtain wall supplier. And how that outrigging comes out from their system is really their design. But we don't really affect, the loads aren't that high. They don't have any difficulty with coming up with those designs.
Right. Yeah, there might be
Kris, do you have anything to
restrictions.
say about that?
Right, there could be restrictions on how far off the building it is, only because the load, increases so much, might overcome the size of those supports. But no, I mean, those are sort of devil's in the details. So those are the details. Like every job's unique. Um, but yeah, when you're doing the screen systems, you got to either work with a curtain wall manufacturer, and they're all familiar with these knife blade assemblies. And so working hand in hand, you generally come up with a solution.
So maybe this will happen after I finish the questions, but do you have any construction details for the projects you are showing? It'd be great to see how some of these come together. So maybe we do that after I finish these questions. So maybe you
Yeah.
could find those, Kris. And then the second,
Oh,
the
yeah.
last one, can a cladding hold up a large tower on a large tower? And the answer is yes. That's just engineering. So we basically would work with you on that project to do the engineering to figure it out.
Right.
Can it fasten to a window wall system, or does it need to be a curtain wall? Well, that's really a question for the window wall supplier. I'm not sure. Window wall doesn't tend to have the same construction details or so forth of a curtain wall, but it would be a collaboration with a window wall supplier to figure that out. Again, what we understand and what we know our loads, and we can collaborate with the curtain wall or window wall supplier to do the rest. I'm just going to put that in writing. Work the window wall.
Yeah, Blair's absolutely correct. And we generally just find that there's area like parts of the building that may require that. But the mass installation areas is just ends up it's not economical from what we've seen. It depends on the wall makeup, of course, but so generally, you'd go back to traditional parts and pieces and components for those areas.
So then a question on representation. So I'm Ontario and East, and then Al from Certus is the prairies, right?
Correct.
And does he handle BC as well?
Yeah, BC. Yeah, BC to you, really. Yep.
Okay.
BC to Ontario.
Okay. And we can obviously make those introductions.
Yep, absolutely.
To Al. I'm here in Ontario. And so I'm just talking and typing at the same time, but can terracotta, let me just go to the end. That's the last question, but maybe you want to go on to show some details then, Kris.
Yeah, I've got a few open. I just assumed it's the questions are always about the details,
Yes.
and that's why this final slide exists, right? I mean, all the work is behind, everything's behind the terracotta, obviously. But there's just no two projects that are generally alike. There's always some sort of detail that is unique to each project, um, and so it's how you handle those. We have, again, we tend to think the answer to that is, look, we have several ways of doing that. So you need to focus on, isn't a system that's truly economy based? Is it a system that's truly thermally based, or is it something down the middle? So it's threading that needle and meeting those specification requirements certainly requires a lot of variety sometimes. So you want to work with somebody that can do that, that can achieve those different levels of support, literally and figuratively. So that's, again, this is 4 details of what we call standard components, but we probably have 20 or 30 different options and combinations. So it's everybody wants to see details, and yeah, that's a great, you see the pretty pictures. How are those supported? Well, a lot of those projects are one of these support systems you see here, but it can vary, right? A metal stud system might vary versus a concrete or CMU. It could. So it's hard to say that there's any one system. There's really several.
Question about seismic.
Yep.
You want to answer that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this system is seismically tested, and we work with Larson Engineering. They handle and stamp all of Canada and the US for us, so they'll do an analysis as well. And seismic does vary, as I understand it anyways, does vary depending on region. So for instance, I know California's got some fairly unique requirements. But the terracotta, as is, honestly, our terracotta system, offhand, there is nothing that changes in even high seismic regions. So it's a very seismic friendly system because it allows movement and the tiles won't come off the building. So there's truly no changes, but it is racked. So we have done the test where they rack it several degrees back and forth. And I believe the lower, one of the tiles, there was a crack on one tile, which I believe is a pass still.
Okay. Are there some more questions, or do you also want to present any more projects or anything, Kris?
Yeah, happy to go back up through a couple of these. Absolutely. Can just discuss some of these jobs. So people are asking what are the details? Okay, well, I can tell you, I was lucky enough to be part of some of these jobs. So this project, so residential and projects, often some in Western Canada, are just installed over plywood. So this particular project being residential, this has a wood stud and plywood wall, and I believe here we specified 3/4 inch plywood, so you can virtually, secure the clips anywhere on the wall. It makes for a very simple installation with a 30 millimeter hat channel. So if you look at this particular image, we just have that hat, the clip, the tile. That's all that's on that wall. So the exterior insulation is not on this building. A lot of that, I think, is because it's in Portland, Oregon. So very simple. Yes, we can install onto wood. That's questions asked. In fact, wood has a very good pull-out value, so it performs quite well. I can't speak to these systems. This project,
I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are a couple YouTube videos that I could show, and that would make it visible to how these things go together too.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like me to do that, Kris?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to make myself the presenter and show my screen. And now they see beautiful you. And I just got to go find what I did with YouTube. Okay, there it is. Sorry, you're going to have to wait for the, Now, oftentimes in Europe, they show it on brick and concrete. And of course, these things would go on steel stud as well. And so the construction details of the subsystem might be a little bit different than what you're seeing in this video, but we'd also design it the way it makes sense for that project. And the girt spacing is really about engineering and the size of the tiles. And what you're seeing is the speed of the tile being put on the panel. And typically what it means is the panel going on the wall, the speed of it is how fast, the labor can get the material to the wall, not the installation. So the typical tile choice, although if you want to choose some really interesting aesthetics, is such that you want to pick something that the people can actually build it. And that, that means that you're going to choose stuff that maybe is, here's baguettes, because people were asking questions about baguettes. So you're going to choose tiles that a person or two can handle, and that's the speediest way to get construction. So as I mentioned, terracotta baguettes is really a tube of terracotta with aluminum structure supporting it. And those outriggers are designed by either the engineer for the building or the curtain wall designer. What the product that you get from our system are those connection points and the tube and the aluminum tube metal that comes out of it. And once again, you're seeing construction details that can allow you to be very, very fast. You're also seeing square barrels or baguettes. And that's just an example of one choice. There's many, many different choices. And I think this is a pretty cool one too. So this is showing some more projects. So there's an example of high-rise curve panels. And one of the interesting things like that chart, let me just see if I can't save that change that back for a second. I've done a number of jobs where these tiles are the same size, but because you chose a different shape or a different finish, it makes the wall look like they're not the same size. The benefit of having all the same size is the subsystem's all the same, and the speed of construction is much better. So that's an example of being much more efficient. Again, the use of the baguettes. That's a good example of what I was just saying. So just to go back up to that. So those panels, I don't know 100%, I didn't build the building, are likely all the same size with different levels of reveals so that it looks rather interesting from that point of view. There's some pretty interesting projects.
Right, these are good. And again, I'll just mention what Argeton does best is standard dimensional terracotta with fancy finishes and textures. I mean, but it's also a fairly economical facade. So that tends to be our sweet spot, and we hope you all feel the same.
I'm just going to answer some questions here. Let me just find what I did with the question tab. Okay, not do that. That's probably why. Okay. That's probably behind this video. Excuse me. Pardon the delay. What happened to the question tab? It went away. Maybe that's because I'm the presenter. Let me take away that. And make you the presenter. It's not helping me. Well, I apologize. I can't find the. What we'll do is I'll take all the questions that we've gotten so far. I apologize for the confusion here. And we'll put them out as answers to all of you. Um, and then we'll also get your learning certificates out to you. And I know that you're in a hurry, so I'll get those out to you probably by tomorrow. And the video of this event will be available on my website probably by tomorrow as well. And Kris, if you have something else to offer, otherwise we'll close it down just a little earlier.
No, other than appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, and get a hold of Blair or myself with any other questions. Happy to help. That's primarily my job, is answering questions. So happy to share any of these details, pictures with you as well.
I actually found the question bar, so I'm sorry if you want to hang in there for a few more minutes. Can the screens be easily moved for maintenance or window cleaning? Do you want to comment on that?
Right, they're bolted on. So if you use security type bolts, then no, they can be difficult to dismantle. But yeah, if you use standard bolts, then sure, you just unbolt them, get access, and reinstall them. Generally, there's enough room if it's in front of a window wall that you can clean. I usually get somebody in between them. But again, every project's so unique and different. But yeah, but we're happy to help design that.
Okay. Can you provide the link to that video? Yep, I will. I'll get the links to all the videos. I just Googled Argeton and ended up with those, and I think I have a couple of those on my website. I will send out the links when I send out the learning certificates too. Okay, let me just type that. And has this supplier, or can they recreate heritage building terracotta? That's not our gig. The other company that does that, Boston Valley, they started in that space. So what Argeton's terracotta, you could easily, I've seen it in Europe where they build a modern building that relates to a traditional or a heritage building, but it's still a modern building. Those that are taking cast terracotta into all sorts of different shapes, there's a few of those people, and Boston Valley is one of those. Do you want to add anything to that, Kris?
No, you're absolutely right. No, there's historical terracotta is not Argeton's cup of tea. If you that factory, like I said, there's no humans in it except for at the end for a QC inspection. So yeah, molded terracotta is not automated, a lot of labor, um, and it's obviously quite a bit more, but same products, same terracotta.
Okay, and it's 5-2, and a few very nice compliments are coming in, so thank you so much. We always love getting feedback on these webinars. I plan on setting out another schedule of them, maybe in the fall would be a good timing. Always quite happy to do them for your team individually as well. And the Lunch and Learn business is starting to pick up again, face to face. And what's interesting is there's a little hybrid thing going on with people working at home. I've been having more of the kind of Lunch and Learn with some people up on the screen and some people in the office, which is really cool. So I'm quite happy to do those kinds of events too. And if you're not in Ontario or not in Eastern Canada, Kris and Al can help you out as well. And I'll hang on for a little bit to see if there's any other questions, but otherwise, that's the presentation for today. I really appreciate Kris. Thank you so much for taking the ball and running with this.
No, thank you. Thank you all for your time.